Let me show you how much the United States actually spends on its military. Almost $1 trillion a year. Over here, we've got China, Russia, Germany, and the rest of the big military powers. Even if you combine them all, the US still spends more. More than the next 9 countries combined. And that money buys power. It builds the most powerful military ever created, produces more aircraft carriers than any other country in the world, more advanced weapon systems than any rival. By every traditional measure, the United States should be unbeatable. And yet, over and over again, it fights wars it doesn't truly win, not because it loses battles. And this isn't a one-off, that's just a pattern. Look at Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Different wars, different enemies. Same result. In each one, American forces crushed opposing armies. They captured capitals. They removed governments. And then, the political goals collapsed. How can the strongest military in history keep winning battles, but failing to secure lasting outcomes? The answer begins with a mistake we make about what war actually is. We tend to think war is about destruction, about eliminating the enemy, about firepower. But war has never really been about killing. War is about control, about changing behavior, about deciding who governs and under what rules. Fighting is only the opening act, and the real war begins after the shooting stops. That's where military power starts to lose its advantage, because armies are designed to defeat other armies. They are not designed to rebuild societies, they are not designed to manufacture legitimacy, and they are not designed to make populations accept new political systems. In Vietnam, US forces dominated most direct engagements. They inflicted massive losses, they controlled territory. But the political structure the war was meant to protect never became legitimate in the eyes of much of the population. The battlefield was American. The politics were Vietnamese. And those two realities never aligned. The same pattern repeated decades later in Iraq. The regime fell in weeks. The army dissolved almost overnight. From a military perspective, it was a success. But what replaced it was fragile, divided, dependent on outside power. And once violence shifted from conventional war to insurgency, sabotage, and civil conflict, the battlefield changed. The enemy no longer wore uniforms. It did not hold territory in the traditional sense. It did not need to win. It only needed to survive. That is the central asymmetry of modern war. For a superpower, victory means stability, order, and political transformation. For an insurgent force, victory means endurance. Time becomes a weapon. The longer the conflict lasts, the more pressure builds on the outside power, financially, politically, and socially. Public support erodes, costs rise, and the mission becomes harder to define. This is not a failure of tactics. It is a structural problem. Because when foreign soldiers stay long enough, they stop being seen as liberators. They become something else. From the inside, intervention looks like assistance. From the outside, it looks like an occupation. Cultural misunderstandings accumulate. Civilian harm spreads resentment. Local elites lose credibility by association. And gradually, the foreign presence becomes the unifying enemy. History shows this pattern repeatedly, not just for the United States, but for empires before it. The British in Palestine, the Soviets in Afghanistan, the French in Algeria. Superior firepower did not fail. Political legitimacy did. Which brings us to the most difficult part of modern warfare. You cannot install authority by force. You can remove a government with tanks, but you cannot create a stable one with them. Political systems survive because people accept them, not because they fear them. Institutions grow from local compromise, social norms, and internal power balances. When they are built under foreign supervision, they appear artificial. And artificial systems collapse the moment pressure is removed. That is why military victories often disappear as soon as troops leave. It is not because the war was unwinnable militarily. It is because it was unbuildable politically.